gaffer or chief lighting technician, when you have one. Again, talk about, when you're on a larger shoot and you have a gaffer, you have someone to help you with lighting. What's that relationship like?
The situations where I've had a real professional gaffer, it's kind of been a situation where they've kind of saved my butt, because I'm not classically trained like the two other gentlemen up here. So, working with big instruments and big grip equipment is not something I'm real familiar with, because like a lot of people out there, I grew up in the DSLR environment where, it's just smaller tools and smaller budgets. So, working with a real gaffer, I'm able to communicate with a person and tell them, okay, I need this to happen. I need to shape the light this way, and they know the instruments and the modifiers better than I do. So that part of the technical aspect that they can handle very well. But I'm sure these guys could talk a lot more about the classical stuff.
Because Greg, you started as a gaffer before transitioning to DP.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a curse, because I've worked with so many DPs early on, and learned a lot of valuable things from them. And of course, things change, because of the technology. But I have a hard time, and I don't know what gaffers would say when they work with me. I'd like to know, because I have a pretty strong opinion on the way I want something to look. At least, I mean, I'm willing to, change. If someone's got something great and they're auditioning it, I mean, and they're ahead of me, I go, I'm happy. But a lot of times they're just waiting, waiting for some direction, and that's fine too. It just depends on the job. But if you have a good gaffer who can communicate with his crew and who is willing to take orders, whether he likes it, the idea or not, just like we might have not like something a director wants to do, but he really, we do it. That relationship is like gold, because if he can manage his crew, which is part of being a gaffer, I've worked with a lot who wanted to do everything themselves, and therefore you get behind. If they can delegate and have guys that know what they're doing to set things and stay ahead of the game, that's the ultimate relationship. He may not have to have like a great lighting eye, but he has to know the tools and be able to communicate with everybody and execute. And if you've got that, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, you got to have, the gaffer is your right-hand man if they're good. And, I've worked with guys who, I was doing my first green screen, and he was like measured down to the foot exactly what unit had to go where it went to get the exposure. Because back in the old days, you had to nail it. You had like a little, inch on each side, and that was it. But a good gaffer is worth their weight in gold, and they can save your butt. Everybody gets tired every once in a while. It's like, oh man, it's hour 12 or 13, and they're like, you kind of like, all right, here's what I think. We're going to do this and have a big light come in there. We want some bounce off the floor and maybe some kind of highlight on the back wall, and you're not doing. You got two of those, but not the third. And the gaffer will step in and go, hey, what about this? And go, oh yeah, let's do that. Yeah. And then you drink some coffee or whatever, get that second wind, and then you're back. But they're invaluable to have a good gaffer.
Especially the ones that come and you're under the gun and everybody's worked hard and you're ready to start rolling the camera, but there's like a little thing that you're just bugging you maybe, but you just don't have time to fix it. All of a sudden the gaffer comes up, whispers in your ear, hey, you need a little more backlight or something, and they just do it. Yeah. And it's like,
So one of the things that's really radically changed is as budgets and shoots get smaller.
Yeah, wow.
And you become a cinematographer, combination gaffer, and your own grip all at once. Now that you have to have some of that experience, how does that affect things? Is it a good thing or a bad thing that you now have to not only shoot, but you have to light as well?
It's bad especially on the client side, it's a bad thing, because they think they're saving a bunch of money when you're on a shoot, and what's the reality of it is it's just taking so much longer and so inefficient, because just like Greg said, this happens all the time, is you got your shot set and the person you're interviewing or whatever sits down and, okay, well now I need to tweak things. I have to move out of the way of the camera and go tweak those things myself. So it's very inefficient to do things that way. And plus, you're missing out on collaboration opportunities where, if you have an audio guy or a grip or a gaffer or whatever it might be, that person might have some ideas that can help improve the look of the image, and obviously things are going to go quicker and much more efficiently.
For you,
Well,
Greg?
yeah, well, for me, it's true that I've seen crew positions shrink. I mean, over the years, they have just dwindled and dwindled, and many out-of-town producers, and they don't have to be from out of town. I mean, it could be locals too. They've cut out some of the key positions because they just there is a rate structure, and it can get expensive to fill a crew, so they drop titles. That's the first thing they do, and you lose some of those relationships that you've had with crews that you've worked with for years, because now they're not in the budget. You can't get them on the jobs. And I mean, I've seen it coming for years, and it's affected me greatly. But at the same time, it's one of the things that's had fueled me in learning how to light differently, changing the way I do things, which brought me to the LED world, and the ability to manipulate light fast and not have to carry heavy things, because it's just the nature of the beast. By downsizing, your tools have to downsize. Things have to change. I can't walk around with 1200s anymore. I can't walk around with 2500 or 4K. I just don't have the help. I'd still use them, and that would get, if I had the crew. So when I have to put a budget together for somebody who's coming in and we're providing lights and a camera, I used to have a number that I would hit every time, and it involved a lot of HMIs and cable. It doesn't happen anymore. It's like, okay, so let me think about this. So I was Kino flows, so now I'm LEDs, and okay, I got this guy and this guy, and what's the skill level? So I'll build a lighting package, that will fit that job, and that's what's kind of caused me to change
and that's
my
a
whole
great
concept of
That's a great
what I do.
segue. That's a perfect.
The control freak in me, it loves being the only guy on set, but I realize I'm not doing my job as well as I could. I mean, the film is suffering. I just shot a 48, and I was no complaints. It was just we ended up not having the crew. The people couldn't get to the set, and so it was a 12 and a half hour day. I sat for 20 minutes in that day. I lost 3 pounds. I had a blast. I loved it. But there's a couple. Well, I just remember I got up. I was like, holy! I was like, but I remember there were like several things. Oh, I'd love to put a different lens on. Yeah. I was stuck with one lens because I was running every little thing. Oh, let's put a little flag back there. Who's setting that flag? Me. Yeah. Oh, let's get that window light coming through. It was me, and I loved it. But I knew if I had like one really good grip, there would have been some more camera moves, etc. So
and more light control, I'm sure.
And more light control.
Yeah, you could have done more with the same amount of time.
Yes.
If you just had more people.
Yeah.